Hey, brothers and sisters, what's up? This is the Reluctant Nabi back again, and just some more things to rehash. And we're going to be on this Dr. Francis Cress Welsing papers for a minute, all right? Because there's some things that you have to understand, and it falls in line with scriptural references that I have been talking about, and this falls in line with many hoteps that follow her. So imagine my confusion as to why they would run around thinking that the BAW is God when she's going to outline specifically and very specifically. Now, when we say Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, we're not talking about a PhD. We're talking about a practicing psychiatrist, or was a practicing psychiatrist. And so, as the result of trying to solve issues, she had to go into uncovering what caused the issues, and she wanted to do it without the medication, is because she knew that some of the times the medication was worse as a cure than the ailment. All right. So with this understanding, and since she wanted to work with primarily Afro people in the Afro community because that's where the need was, she had to delve deep into what was the sickness. All right. So as saying this, she'll explain this in the videos that the video you're about to watch, and I'm gonna break it down in parts, and you're going to hear it in its entirety. But on one of my other channels, I'm gonna just put it there in its entirety. All right, but I'm gonna put down the breakdown so that you can understand that the Hoteps got it all wrong, the BAWs got it all wrong, and not only are they not part of the solution, but they have been deceived into being the biggest part of the Afro problem in the Afro community. With this BAW is God, with the men, it's the man that don't matter. It's all about the women. All these dudes writing all these comments on Facebook, you men need to wait on the black women. We're going to go extinct. No, you're checking the wrong people. You should have been checking the women. And she'll break that down. So let's get into this real quick. Let me greet everybody who board and hard to dog all the way to the bay. Bosses Los, bonjour mes amis, kedo bawani konnichiwa. Ni hao ni ama, sani bonani, jumbo or bayagani, assalamu alaikum and shalom. Let me remind everybody, y'all know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, get those thumbs up. All right, to donate, my Cash App and my PayPal me will be in the description box. But take care of yourself and family first, brothers. We do need donations, but if you don't got it, don't worry about it. All right, we will have to make do with what we got and do what we can with what we get. All right, so with that said, let's get into this. All right, so in presenting this, we're coming out with all these mental ailments that these BAWs are feeling, but these are all self-inflicted because they chose the wrong side. They chose to go against the Afro man like everybody was designed to. All right, but it was a trick and they fell for it. And now they're suffering. But they're also suffering because in Hosea it says, my people perish for lack of knowledge because they reject knowledge. They thought that this was all about them and not about the Afro man. And our elders, like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, always knew this. And in her psychiatry practice, she got to the root of the problem, but nobody wanted to hear the answer because they wanted to remain deceived. They perished for lack of knowledge because they rejected. Hear her speak.
Thank you very much, Hakeem. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to...
Can't hear too well.
Can't hear. Mic on?
We turn it up? That's it. Fine.
Well, let me say that I'm very glad to be here. Can you hear? Well, I'm very glad to... All right, well, I will try to do my best to talk up a little bit. I'm glad to be home and to see my family. I have a mother here and a younger sister and a nephew and an adopted nephew, T.I.P. Green. I would like to share on this very important occasion of the 20th anniversary of Third World Cress. I would like to share with this audience some of my thinking and to share some conclusions about where we are at this point in time in this area of the world and throughout the world. I would like to begin by maybe making these remarks a memorial tribute to Mayor Harold Washington.
All right.
That I was shocked to hear of his death in Washington. And I was shocked at how shocked I was, if you understand what I'm saying. That I walked around in a state of shock, and it's still very hard for me to think that he is no longer with us. And as I drove around Chicago from Midway Airport to home and to my sister's house and driving up and down the streets, I kept saying, "Ooh, wow, the streets are clean." And it seemed as though there was another vibration in this city where I was born. And I think Harold Washington had a very profound impact. And I like to look at events that we consider to be tragic and say, what kind of lesson is to be learned from something that, we feel is pain. And I believe that there are some very important lessons that we can gain from Mayor Harold Washington. And I think that his passing may be a test for black people in the city of Chicago. And the question is whether or not the people in Chicago, the black people, rise to the occasion to show Harold Washington that he is still here. But we can talk about that further. I think that the thing that we must do as black people is to begin to have a very clear context in which we do our thinking. That events never occur in the abstract. They are always occurring in particular patterns, and they are occurring in relationship to other things. And when I talk to black people across this country, and I've recently come back from England and talked to black people there, and I say that there's a clue to what ails us to some extent, and it's how we greet each other. Many of us greet each other by saying, "What's happening? Hey, what's happening?"
Or what's up?
And I say that because we don't really understand what is going on. That when we really understand what is going on, we will be able to say, like some other people, "How do you do?" But we are constantly saying, "What's happening?" Now, I would like to share my idea about what is happening and the context in which I do my world events. And that goes to the issue of white supremacy. You know, we've used the word racism for a long time, or we've used the word discrimination, but I am using the phrase white supremacy and in parentheses racism, or the other way around, racism and in parentheses white supremacy, but the emphasis being on white supremacy. And I say that this is the thing that we must understand, that we are not going to be able to understand black male-female relations. We are not going to be able to understand teenage pregnancies. We are not going to be able to understand drug addiction. We are not going to be able to really understand the tendency to have trash build up around us in the places where we live unless we come to grips with white supremacy. What is this white supremacy? And I want everybody to take out a little piece of paper and get a pencil and write this name and write this telephone number down. The name is Neely Fuller, N-E-E-L-Y, Fuller, F-U-L-L-E-R, and his phone number is area code 202-484-5461. This gentleman is the author of a book called The Textbook for Victims of Racism or White Supremacy. I would recommend, this book costs about $25, $25 or $30. I consider it to be a very, very important book. I worked with this gentleman 17 years to get his book published. He is a guard at the Bureau of Engraving in the District of Columbia. This gentleman said back in 1956 that he thought that racism was about people who classify themselves as white maintaining control and domination over the people that they classified as non-white. And when I heard him say this around 1967, it just clicked. That's it. Prior to that time, I considered myself to be a Marxist, and I was looking at racism as a byproduct of economic activity. But as I attempted to use Marx's definition, it wasn't producing the answers that I needed. And at that point in time, I was training to become a psychiatrist. And I wanted to have some answers so that I could help black people solve their mental health problems. But as I attempted to use Marx's concept, I wasn't really getting the traction that I needed to solve these problems as a physician. And so I heard this gentleman one day start talking about a book he had been working on, and he said, no, that you have a system of white supremacy, and that is about people who classify themselves as white being in control and domination. Well, I'll talk on this one for you. Okay? Is that better? No, it's like echoes too. Can that be turned down a little bit? Okay. Okay. So Fuller said that this system, that white supremacy was a system, and that, listen to this, that this system functioned in the area of economics. This system functioned in the area of education. This system functioned in the area of entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Are you all with me? Yeah. Do you see the difference? Marx was saying that this was causing this. And Fuller said, no, we have a global global system of white supremacy that carries out activity in economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, meaning all the areas of people activity. So then Frances Welsing comes along and she said, why? Why indeed would these people set up such a system? And the question why is a very important question in psychiatric medicine. The question why is a very important question for the brain-computer period, and that's why anybody who knows a little 2-year-old or 18-month-old or, probably 2, and they keep saying, why? Why, Mommy? Why? Because this is the question that turns the brain-computer on. It is a question about cause and effect. You see? What is happening so that the brain can say, oh, okay, I've got it now. Now I can understand, and I can move from there to understand many other things. So I said, why would these people do this? And then my education, starting at Douglas Elementary School, Wyndham Phillips High School, Antioch College, Howard Medical School, okay, classmates or whatever, that all of this came together once I raised this question, because this question just said, brain-computer, go to work on this problem. And so I was standing in my kitchen, as a matter of fact, doing dishes or cooking, and the brain-computer came with the printout. And the printout was this, that here we are on this planet Earth. 1/10 of the people have white skin. 9/10 of the people are black, brown, red, and yellow.
Doing this.
One of the things that the 1/10 would say is that the 9/10, particularly the black people, were genetically inferior. How many people have heard that? Everybody. So I also understood in training as a psychiatrist, when somebody is pointing, something's wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you, that the behavioral scientist knows that the finger that is pointing at somebody else has 3 fingers that are pointing at them. And so I also thought about that, and I said, oh, wow. These people are telling us that we are genetically inferior, but the same people are genetic recessive. You see, and even if you have not studied formal genetics, everybody in this room, every black person is a scholar in genetics. Because all black people know, don't marry anybody darker than yourself. You see, that's genetic knowledge under white supremacy, because black people didn't like their color and were trying to get away from this very powerful and dominant color. But the people who were classified as white learned after they had circumnavigated the globe, and everywhere the people were colored, and those white men who had sexual intercourse with the black women and waited around 9 months, they found out that white plus black is equal to color. White plus brown is equal to color. White plus red is equal to color. And white plus yellow is equal to color. So they understood after that voyage, after those many voyages, that these people, the black, brown, red, and yellow people, were the majority people on the planet, and that they were genetically dominant to white-skinned people. And they also made a quick brain-computer calculation that if they did not maintain control and domination over the black, brown, red, and yellow people, that white people could disappear on the planet. Now, black people, and this is what I wrote about in this paper, the Cress theory of color confrontation and racism, that was first discussed in 1970. That's 17 years ago. I was a baby. I'm kidding, okay. But I needed to understand what is going on to begin to make sense of this experience that we have. And being a physician, see, a lot of times some of the other disciplines, they can have a whole lot of ideas, but they are not required to get people well. But when you are required to get people well, and you make your living based on your ability to get people well, there's another dimension. It's not just talking for fun and games. It's a question of, I've got to understand this, because when somebody comes in my office and says, Dr. Welsing, help me with this, I've got to understand enough to be able to help them. And since I was trained as a black psychiatrist that black people didn't have the intelligence to talk about their problems, check it, and that the best treatment for them was drugs, and I said, no way, that I was going to understand what the problems were that black people faced so that I could share that understanding with them and help them solve the problems in their lives. So that my having to understand this, but once I understood it, I said, oh, okay. Now I understand. The discussions that were going on before talking about black male-female relations, you've got to understand that those problems are tied to the system of white supremacy. And they are tied in a particular way. And they are tied in this way. Where's my eraser? Oh, here's the eraser. That if the problem that the people who classify themselves as white, if the problem that they face is white supremacy for the purpose of white genetic survival. Are you with me?
Right.
So this is the key. This tiny group of people, this tiny minority of people on the planet are trying to survive genetically. And so their thing, a lot of people say, oh no, their thing is money. They make money. They don't make melanin. See, they manufacture money. See, they manufacture money. But God makes melanin. Now, they didn't have it, and so their struggle is to survive genetically. Now, black men and black women, we are all equal people. We are not the same. Women are not the same as men, and men are not the same as women. The critical issue of white genetic survival is related when it comes to black, brown, red, and yellow people, is that black, brown, red, and yellow women cannot cause white genetic annihilation. See how quiet it is when women are offended? No. Women cannot force men to have sexual intercourse. Is that true? See, you can entice. Nice perfume, nice clothes, nice words, entice. But if you try to force a man to have sexual intercourse, you're going to whip out your M16 rifle and say, you better come on. And if you frighten him, what's going to happen? See, now these are basic facts of physiology. It doesn't require anybody to make this up. This is basic physiology, so that women cannot force sexual intercourse. Men, white, black, brown, red, and yellow, can impose sexual intercourse. See, I'm not talking about rapists, but I'm talking about they can impose sexual intercourse. So that the critical issue of white genetic survival comes down and attacks males differentially than it does females. You see, in other words, a white male can decide, now I want to make some lighter colored black people. So I'm going to have sex with a black woman. That's his decision. The woman cannot, the black female, the non-white female cannot impose that decision on any white male or any non-white male. But males can impose this decision. And so because of all of the levels of color, black, brown, red, and yellow, black is the highest level of melanin pigmentation. Brown, red, and yellow, these are lesser levels of the same pigment. So that the white people understood, the white collective understood, if we are to survive genetically, we must impose control on men, and we impose it directly in proportion to the amount of pigment that you can produce. So that growing up on the south side of Chicago, you learn, if you are black, get back. If you are brown, stick around. If you are yellow, you're mellow. If you're white, you're right. Now, I was just in London, and I went through this, and all the people who, from Africa and the Caribbean just went right through. They know it, too. All of the non-white people all over the world, Asia, Africa, the islands of the South Seas, wherever, where there has been confrontation with white, everybody knows how the colors stack up relative to threat to white genetic survival, although people never understood that the reason that the colors had to be put down in such a way was related to white fear of white genetic annihilation. So because of that problem, imposing major stress. Now, there's stress on all of us, males and females alike. But there is horrendous stress on the men because the men present the threat to white genetic survival. Right here in this city, long time ago, 3149 Elvis. But my parents and my grandmother were in our dining room, and they were talking about somebody had been lynched. I was a little girl, very little. They were talking about somebody had been lynched. And they were kind of talking in hushed tones. And I remember asking my grandmother, Granny, why did they do that? My grandmother said, well, because some people have to act ugly. Now, lynching and castration means what? To kill and to attack the genitals of the black man.
All right, so you got the first part of the breakdown. What a lot of people didn't understand is during a lynching, that's exactly what they cut off. So it wasn't that they just hung the man, but they mutilated him also, the Afro man. What a lot of people don't understand is many of these events took place with planning by the wife of said man that helped the Triple K people come in and get the husband when the husband made her mad. So we as Afro men had always been used. I mean, the BAWs in the United States many times use the very system of oppression to try to check and correct and frighten the Afro man into doing what they wanted. All right, the end result is Afro men are now leaving in droves is because the true history of everything is coming out to include the BAW's part in all of this, no matter how major or minor. And Afro men said they're too much of a risk. And on top of that, their very partner in whom they relied on as the backup for the destruction of said Afro man is veiling too. And now they are having added with judgment from the Most High, I believe. All right. So, because the men aren't taking the risk anymore. And let me say this, the BAW has been picking this over good Afro men and women and anybody that could not make a melanin baby. They've been taking on all other seeds, right? But nobody is checking them in the Afro Hotep community. They're coming after the men, but the men are the key. The BAWs are the ones that you should check, but they too scared to do that. Think about that. At the end of the day, all right, they're presenting all of this to thugs still, not good men. And even if they presented it to good men, we don't want no more. Understand? So, is the Afro community lost? Not according to Dr. Cress Welsing, because it is the man, the seed bearer, that has the most dominant gene. And if there was true love, where everybody was allowed to love everybody, the albino gene would totally leave. And it would leave in a peaceable way. And it wouldn't just leave. We would just give our genes to everybody, to include Mr. D. Wyte Man, not to be confused with Tamala Mann's husband. Because the Afro male is the key to bringing unity to everything. And it's sad that people don't realize it. If Afro men in droves do the very thing that she states was the biggest fear, that us leaving the plantation and doing what they are doing, that is having children with everyone else, the world would get darker. The world will then have melanin. And then everybody would be able to survive under the sun without being burned. Period. End of story. With that said, I'm out. Oh, this is a no D's policing zone.